Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. This is episode 380 of the Ping Pong Flix Show. Welcome back. The DCEU is moving along very slowly, but we're getting little pockets of information. The first one is about the Joker. Apparently, Joker has changed its movie plot summary just a little bit, and I'm going to read it to you right here. Joker centers around the iconic arch nemesis as in an original, stand-alone story not seen before on the big screen. Phillips' exploration of Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, a man disregarded by society, is not only a gritty character study, but also a broader cautionary tale. So, judging from this, we are now pretty much already in the know that's a standalone story, but they've decided to actually add that in. Original standalone story as the official synopsis, if you will. So that is very cool to see them doing more DC films that probably won't connect to the entire universe. And that's a good thing, actually, if you think about it, because directors may have things on their mind, on their stories that they want to make, and throwing at the studio. And imagine a studio saying, well, that won't fit into our complete lineup right now. I don't know how that character could fit in with this character and stuff like that. And you can feel the frustration in the director who just wants to tell a story revolving around DC characters that the studio owns. And so in this way, I guess it's kind of actually good, right? Because we're trying to get those director-driven films. That way Todd Phillips can make a film about a character Joker without having to worry about, well, when's Batman coming in, when Superman's coming in, what's going to happen in the future, and things like that. I think that is actually a great way to make different original standalone stories, and it really is kind of like how it was back then, where you had the Christopher Nolan trilogy, then you had Man of Steel, well, not Man of Steel, you had Superman Returns, then you had Green Lantern, and in a way it didn't really connect to each other at all. There was no overarching storyline. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was just infancy. They really wasn't really connecting too much. So I think this might be a direction, or at least another set of movies that Warner Bros. Can do in addition to the DCEU, which is supposedly still kind of connected to each other, but after the events of Justice League, we're not sure how connected that part is. But if anybody wants to make a movie, I guess, and they want to revolve around a character, imagine, hey, someone's going to say, I want to make a Nightwing movie, but I don't care about, Ben Affleck's Batman. I don't care about this or that. I just want to I have a story here. It involves Nightwing. Batman is a different type of Batman and stuff like that. Then I guess in a way they would be allowed to bring that in and put it under that what they're calling DC Black, the Black label of DC films. It's just letting the director do whatever he wants, letting the writer do whatever he wants, without having to think about what the movie was before and what the movie was after. So I think that's a great thing for Warner Brothers to actually do this. And if it's successful, if Joker is successful, we'll probably see a lot more of these type of original standalone stories involving DC characters, and it doesn't have to connect anywhere near the DCU. Now the question is Matt Reeves, the Batman, alongside original standalone trilogy, or is it part of the DCEU? But at least we, confirmation again that Joker is a standalone story. Now, with the actual DCU, or at least we think it is, this is regards to the Suicide Squad. I guess a lot of people are wondering about this movie, how the script is everything ready to shoot? There are at least one Guardians of the Galaxy star that actually praises James Gunn's The Suicide Squad script. You may be wondering who that is. Well, it's none other than James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, known for playing Kraglin and the on-set version of Rocket, talked a bit about the upcoming DC film with comicbook.com. The Guardians of the Galaxy star was first asked whether he will have a role in the film, then talked about James Gunn's excitement while saying good things about the script. We'll see, meaning he's not sure if he's going to be in the film. He probably will. I know that James is very excited about shooting, and now that I have read the script for it, and I will say nothing other than that it's really good. And I know that he's pretty jazzed about it. I'm definitely excited to hear what happens next, but they start shooting soon. So not much there. And of course, Sean Gunn's going to say that it's his brother's script. Of course, he's not going to say, I could write better than my bro. He's not going to say that. Of course, he's going to praise it. Of course, and everything about that. And it's pretty jazzed. Of course, he's going to say that. That's nothing special, nothing too interesting out of that comment, other than the fact that he'll probably have a role in it as well. But at least if he's really actually, and I of course I think he's actually pretty honest about that they're really excited to see what happens next with this movie. It's possible that even after the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, if he and Sean and everybody had a good time working on the Suicide Squad is critically acclaimed and made a ton of money, there is possibly very much ways that James Gunn would return back to DC to create more things after finishing up that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 that he had written a while back. So that's something he's trying to finish. Because if you see the Marvel slate, it didn't include James Gunn making anything else. And so it could stop at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, whether you like it or not. And he could come back to DC if the Suicide Squad is successful to continue on with that, possibly the Suicide Squad 2 or anything other projects that James Gunn would want to do that Warner Brothers would allow him to do, and we'll see what it comes up with that, whether you like it or not. It just depends on the audience, it just depends on the critics apparently, and it still depends mostly, probably 100% on the box office take for the Suicide Squad. So that is James Gunn, Sean Gunn's comments on James Gunn's script. Now, this other one is kind of a tinfoil, and I don't really know what to make of this. I got this from DC_of the DC Arts. Also, Ray75 also tweeted this out to me. They're saying apparently it's real, although when you look at the Instagram of DC_of the arts, you don't see this in any Instagram story, even though it looks like an Instagram story. Not sure if we just took a picture of it, but you see the line on top. It makes you want to believe it's an Instagram story, and I don't see it on their page. But apparently they asked Warner Brothers Entertainment, release the Snyder Cut please, and apparently Warner Brothers Entertainment responded and said patience is a virtue. I tried to do the same thing. I went to Warner Brothers Entertainment, Warner Brothers Pictures, to even type that in, release the Snyder Cut please, in big caps and stuff. I have yet to get anything from it, so I'm not sure if this is just a fake Photoshop. You can Photoshop things nowadays, and I'm not saying this is fake or real. I'm just saying that even if this was real, it's probably, I don't think it's Warner Bros. Actually saying patience is a virtue, and if they really did say that, it's quite possibly a very cool intern, just like the HBO Asia intern. And I say intern because I'm not really sure who's actually behind the typing, but I really highly doubt it would be execs. But you know what? It's kind of a cool thing to see that instead of saying, hey, it's coming, it's going to be released, Patience is a virtue. I think that says it all. Whether it's true or not, it just says it all for all of us here, that when we're fighting for the Snyder Cut, it's a lot of patience. A lot of patience. And you're like, we've been patient for a couple years. Well, people who've championed for the Donner Cut and other things, they've waited a lot longer. And I don't think it's going to take that long. But I think, we're out here, championing it for in the long run. This is going to be a slow race. It's going to be a marathon rather than a single, one to another point hit and race and that's it. It's going to be a little bit longer than that. We're doing a cross country type of thing instead of a track. So I think with that in mind, patience is a virtue is actually a very good a way to tell us how we should be acting, or how we should be going through with this Release the Snyder Cut movement. So patience, just like Zack Snyder had told Fiona back then. Patience, that's what he actually said as well. So that's awesome. Next up is an article from Brad, our own very own Brad Curran, and he did an article for Screen Rant, as he's been doing a lot of articles for them, which is awesome. And this one is titled "How Ezra Miller's Flash Movie Could Keep Ray Fisher's Cyborg in the DCEU." Now, I encourage you to go read this article. I'm going to link this article in the description below. He goes into pretty much detail of how the development of the Flash came to be and where is it now. In the case of Andy Muschietti and Christina Hodson are involved in that. Andy Muschietti is the IT director, also the IT Chapter 2 director. He is involved in talks to direct the film The Flash, with Christina Hodson as the screenwriter, indicating that the film's hellish film development may be coming to an end, given that she has done screenwriting for Birds of Prey. She's also doing screenwriting for Batgirl, and I guess they like that her material so much that they're gonna let her do The Flash as well. The other positive thing about this is that Ezra Miller is still on contracted to be the Flash at this point right now. So there is something said about that. But what Brad wants to suggest here, which I think is rather interesting, is that if the Flash is re-signed his contract to be the Flash, since his contract, including Ezra Miller's and Ray Fisher's contract, expired in late May, yet this announcement was after May, and they're saying in the Hollywood Reporter that Ezra Miller is still attached to the project, then logic would almost say that it's possible. At the same time, they also re-signed Ray Fisher's contract, and even Ray Fisher, who said Cyborg said it's not over, meaning there may be something involved with that. And he wants to take us back. Brad wants to take us back to an article back in April of 2016, where Deborah Snyder had actually kind of talked about to Forbes about including Cyborg in the Flash movie. She said this: "As you can imagine, when we get to the Flash movie, Ezra Miller and Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, are kind of our youngest characters, and they have a really nice camaraderie with each other. Ezra is super funny, so the tone of that film will be very different than the rest of them." Now, knowing that this has been in 2016, lots of things have changed. Zack is no longer involved, things like that. Understood. A different regime and stuff like that as well. So there is that point where, that's not going to happen. But, scripts and stories do flow around quite often, and some directors actually would pick that up and try to take elements of certain scripts and make it their own. There's possibilities of that. that. But I think what Brad wants to really say is that just because Ezra Miller is back as re-signed back as the Flash, it's a great possibility that Ray Fisher could be as well, either in his own solo film, or if they wanted to, they could throw him into the Flash movie in a way, as we see in Justice League, and we're not sure if this is the same in the Snyder's Justice League, but it does seem like Ray Fisher or Barry and Cyborg actually had a pretty good relationship with each other in a certain way, even though some of that dialogue and some of that interaction was Joss Whedon scenes. But even if they still use Justice League as the official Justice League, they could still utilize what people have seen in the theaters of that interaction between Ray and Ezra as their characters, and seeing how it very much looks like a really nice camaraderie with each other, just like how Deborah Snyder had said, and we can actually see that in another movie. So a lot of people were bought on that, regardless of what he thought about Joss Whedon's Justice League. But we even know from Zack Snyder that in the nightmare future, there was supposed to be a Flash and a Cyborg as well, and they had that interaction with each other. Even in the Snyder Cut, where Cyborg is screaming for Barry as he's getting ripped apart when he's introduced into the mother box, and Barry comes in, time travels in a way to save him. So I think there's a lot of there. I think maybe, hopefully, the studio sees that and says, hey, Cyborg and Flash, they're great together. It's a great way to have that two team up type of movie, and maybe like a buddy cop film if you want. But I think that would be kind of really a cool take on the Flash. Instead of just a Flash solo movie, they could just interject Cyborg in there. But if it's just a Flash solo movie, that's fine as well. Brad's just suggesting that could happen, and if that does happen, I'm all for it. So anyway, that is it for tonight. I want to thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.